In this video, I want to talk about the modeling process of this Lamborghini Gallardo model. It is actually from a workshop that I did last year with the Master Car Design students of SPD. Alright, let's jump into it. This is the first sketch, the key sketch that I used for this modeling process, because I was thinking like what to model for this workshop. It was like a 5 days workshop with the students and for beginners of Blender. So I was looking for a car which is not so complicated, but also not like super simple like a Volkswagen Up or something. I wanted to have some air intakes and outlets, and I was thinking, okay, I really like Lamborghini Gallardo, and this year, last year, it was like the 20 years anniversary of the car. So I was like, okay, let's make a Gallardo, but not the existing model, because as a designer, my goal is never to model existing cars. So I was thinking, okay, we can use it as a reference, but let's change some parts and let's kind of design it like a homage version of this car. So this was the first sketch, but with the students, we started from here. Like first, I wanted to show them, of course, the basics of Blender, and here you can see the difference between shade flat and shade smooth, and here we see the subdivision, also shade flat and shade smooth, and then how to create the radius by simply bringing the edge loops together. I was not even talking about the bevel weights because it's for beginners. And here the variable fillet, we can say. And at the end of the first day in this Blender car design workshop, we were able to model something like that. Very simple, just combining different faces and creating the volumes to get like a very rough car shape. And what I mean by 1 day is just 4 hours, because the workshop was 4 hours a day. And the reason I'm telling you is, if you are not aware, if you are new to the channel, I have my own online courses for Blender. And the first one is Blender for car design for beginners. And there also in 8 hours, you learn how to model cars. You get confident about modeling cars. And that's what we did on this workshop. Let me show you more. On the second day, I showed them how to import the images. Like here, as it's a Gallardo project, I wanted to use reference the first generation Gallardo. Okay, here I think it's second generation on top view, but front and the back. And for the side view, I used my sketch. And this sketch looks a bit different than the tiny sketch on the paper, because I just made a quick digital version of the sketch. For me, Gallardo is like a minimal, nice Lamborghini, not like super chaotic with a lot of sharp angles and so on. There was actually advertisement of the first generation Gallardo, like a black one in the city, like going around with a nice music. It's like more smooth and elegant car. Of course, it's a supercar, but also in an elegant way. So for me, Gallardo is more about that. So I wanted to use like a black sketch, like a black background, black car with a nice minimal reflection. So that was my theme for this car. And on the second day, we started by putting this sketch into the 3D basically. So I was using as a reference. And here is a very simple topology, very simple volume, basically using the outlines of these edges from the sketch and then simply closing the volumes by creating the faces. So it's very basic, but after 2 days of workshop, the students were able to understand how to create the volumes of the cars. And on the third day, we already started to put the subdivision and putting some materials. Also, we did it, I think, before on the second day. And subdivision, shade smooth, and using some edge loops to bring the model into next level. And honestly, I quite like it. Like at the end of the third day, it already looked quite cool. It looked like the sketch here. We can put them together. Yeah, like that. So you can already see that it was the sketch coming into 3D. But of course, it's not a refined model, but it was enough to use a screenshot. Oh, sorry, actually, yeah, it's my bad. This screenshots I took after the day 2. And I made sketches over them, like a front perspective, side view, and I took my notes. For example, on the sketch, it looked nice, but on 3D, it was like too much wheelbase. The distance between the wheels were too long, so I said, yeah, move the rear wheel forward and taking notes. That's actually how the design process works anyway. Like I do the sketch, and then on 3D, it's not exactly the same as the sketch, because on the sketch, you can exaggerate the wheels, you can make like to get this emotional impact of the car. But when you're on 3D, you need to get back to reality a bit more, because on 3D, it starts to look like a cartoon. And you can see on the left top, it looks like a little bit too much like a Hot Wheels. So I wanted to bring the wheels closer and make them a little bit smaller. And here, a very quick rear perspective. Actually, I quite like the feeling. It's very simple, but I really like this feeling. And here, 20th And we are now in 2024, so it's 21, but anyway. So after the second day, I did those screenshot sketches, and then we came to this level of modeling. And at the end of the third day, I simply took these screenshots and just not even sketching over them, just changing the colors a little bit on Photoshop, like side, front, the perspectives, and it already feels this Gallardo feeling, and I already liked it. Even without any details, it was, to me, very successful approach to model this car. And this air intake and outlet is connected like a tunnel. The air comes from here and goes out from here. And it was at the end of the third day of modeling. So I think Blender is easier than many people think. Like when I was learning, okay, actually I spent a lot of time to learn because there was no like a proper car design for Blender. It was like existing cars is something, but learning it for a new design, for a new idea is something different. And that's why here's a little bit of advertisement for myself. In my beginner's course, in 9 hours, you will go above this level. You will learn, actually, let's go to the next day. At the end of the fourth day, we were able to model this. And in my course, after 9 hours, you will be able to model cars in this level. So between these two models, the difference is the one on the right, we use the shrink wrap for better reflections while cutting the windows, changing the materials, like adding the shut line for the door. Like still very basic, still not with a lot of details, but it was quite a process, in my opinion, for 4 days. But now when I model, like this was for teaching to beginner level, and that's why I was not even using the bevel modifier. It was to show the general idea, the logic behind polygonal modeling with Blender. That's why it was more about the edge loops and stuff. Then for the next step, like this was after the workshop, we took the renders on the 5th day. I answered the questions of the students and so on. And then for 1 year, I just procrastinated finishing this model. I was like, probably in total, I worked like 2 more days on this model, 2-3 more days, and it became into this level. I'm going to show you now the topology and details. But it took me around a year to finally finish this model. Still, it's not a super detailed model, but at least I'm happy with the result. So I can say that modeling this car itself took like 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, and like 2-3 days more here, like less than a week. It's a very fast tool. I really love Blender. Like I repeat it all the time in this channel, but it's super fast. And let's talk about this now. And you see here 2 different versions because this one, I recently made a video about the bevel. On my advanced course, it's a good important part of my advanced course that we use bevels and different tools for better surfacing and quicker modeling. You can also see the details on my website. But basically, if I compare these 2 models, you can see that on the left, everything is more manual with the edge loops. So if you need to change something, you need to move the whole vertices and so on. But when you have the bevels, it's just simply still one vertex here. It's quicker for the ideation part. But for finalizing the models, I still enjoy to apply some of the bevels to have a bit more control. For example, on the rear, I have a little bit of shading problem happening because of this T-shape bevel is happening, and I think it creates like a little bit of shading problem. Here we can see better, like a little dent here. But when I'm done with the design, I just apply the bevel and I manually play with the vertices to get better results overall from the car. So that's how it happens. And of course I have more renders. Like these are the renders after the day 4 with the workshop, like this previous version without the bevels and so on. Like after beginner's course, you will be able to model a car like that. And I think it's still pretty cool, like a very quick modeling to understand the idea. I think I even like some parts of proportion better on this version because I think it has a shorter rear overhang. And somehow the greenhouse or something feels better about this one compared to the latest version, honestly. Like these are some renders from the latest version. Of course, it is more refined. There are some more details, but something about the proportions is a little bit too long. Maybe I just exaggerated a bit too much. It looks like maybe an Aventador type of size on Gallardo shapes, and I don't know. But anyway, it was really fun to work on this project. And one last thing is you can get this file, you can get this Gallardo model in my Blender Advanced Car Design course. And when I do more projects, when I think that is good for the course, I will upload even more models on my bonus models part of the course. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please show it on the like button. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe for more car design content. See you in the next one.